So this is lesson 3, group problems. The first question says this question concerns epigenetic inheritance. Letter A, this question concerns a human disease called Angelman syndrome, which displays genomic imprinting. In the case of Angelman syndrome, the imprint silences the paternally inherited alleles. Suppose recessive A is the Angelman syndrome allele, while dominant A is the non-disease allele. The following cross is done: heterozygous male and versus heterozygous female. What are the genotypes and phenotypes of the progeny? A, I just did the cross and got 1/4 homozygous dominant non-disease, 1/2 heterozygous non-disease, and 1/4 homozygous recessive disease. Number 2, the question concerns the situation presented in Part A. The following cross is done: heterozygous male versus homozygous recessive female. What are the genotypes and phenotypes of the progeny? Again, I just did the cross and I got 1/2 heterozygous non-disease and 1/2 homozygous recessive disease. Letter C, suppose a woman has triple X syndrome, 3 X chromosomes. However, the XICS have been deleted from 2 of the X chromosomes in her cells. How many bar bodies are found in each of the woman's cells? With this one, I found that there's 2 bar bodies. Letter D, suppose you isolate a cell from a female cat with 2 X chromosomes. However, the TSIX genes are on each X chromosome are non-functional, while the XIST genes are each X chromosomes are functional. How many bar bodies are expected to be found on this cell? And I said one bar body. Number 2 is basically just like the fill in the blanks problem. So A, it says the SRY is an example of a holoandric gene, or an SRY stands for the sex-determining region Y. B, the pseudo-autosomal is an example of a gene found on both the X and the Y chromosome. C, a cross is made between an IGF2 and IGF2 negative male mouse and an IGF2 negative female mouse. What phenotypes are the offspring? So again, I just did the cross and I found that 1/4 are normal homozygous, 1/2 are heterozygous normal, and 1/4 are homozygous dwarf. D, if in the sex influence pattern of inheritance, an allele can be dominant in one sex while the same allele is recessive in another sex. E, genomic imprinting is an epigenetic process that occurs during gamete formation, while dosage compensation is an epigenetic process that occurs during embryogenesis. F, one of the topics discussed in lesson 2 involve the formation of the double-stranded RNA molecule. What 2 molecules form the 2 halves of this double-stranded RNA? And I just took a good guess from the notes and said the TSIX and the XIST. G, when reciprocal crosses give identical results, the alleles that control the trait in question are located on the autosomes. And when the reciprocal crosses give different results, the alleles that cross the trait in question are located on the X chromosome. Number 3 was a woman's father has OTD, an X-linked recessive disorder producing mental deterioration if not properly treated. The woman's mother is homozygous and is unaffected. So A said, what is the genotype of the woman's father and what is the genotype of the woman's mother? The father would be X recessive, X little t, Y, and then the mother would be X, both homozygous dominant. B, it says if the woman has children with a man who does not have OTD, what is the chance that their first child would be a son with OTD? And then I did the cross, and then I said 1/4 chance for an affected son. C, identify the genotype of a male with whom the woman could produce a daughter with OTD. And then basically it was, it had to be the recessive, so like the little t right here. Because if the man had the dominant T, then that meant it was unaffected. And there was no way for him to give his X to a daughter. So if she had a little t, excuse me, then the father would be able to give that to his daughter. D, it says, consider the cross described in part C of this question. What are the expected genotypes and phenotypes of the offspring? So basically the rest of the offspring if the father was recessive. And then I found that there was 1/4 heterozygous female unaffected, 1/4 homozygous female affected, 1/4 dominant male unaffected, and 1/4 recessive male affected. Number 4, it says the presence of a beard in some species, goats, is determined by an autosomal gene that is dominant in male and recessive in females. So this one totally messed with my head. I was just having a hard time keeping them all straight, so if I mess something up, then that's probably why. A, it says, suppose that a cross produces a 3-beard to 1 no-beard phenotype ratio among the male offspring. What are the genotypes and phenotypes of the parents? A, I found that the parents would be both heterozygous. That would make the male have a beard and the female would not have a beard. I believe so. Like I said, if I'm getting this mixed up, just don't blame me. B, suppose that a cross produces 1 beard and 3 no beard phenotype ratio among female offspring. What are the genotypes and phenotypes of the parents? It's basically the same as question A. Both parents are heterozygous, and this gives the father to have a beard and the mother not to have a beard. C says, suppose a cross between a male with a beard and a female without a beard produces a 1 beard to 1 no beard phenotype ratio among the female offspring. What are the genotypes of the parents? And I found that, actually I don't think I found anything. I think I skipped that one, so just ignore that one. D, suppose a male and a female, both which lack beards, produce a 1 beard to 1 no beard ratio among the male offspring. What are the genotypes of the parents? And I found that the males would have to have no beards, so homozygous recessive, and then the females would have to have a beard, which would be heterozygous. Number 5 says this question involves X-linked inheritance and reciprocal crosses. A, in cats, orange coat color is determined by the recessive B allele, and the black coat color is determined by the dominant B allele. In heterozygous condition, the heterozygous condition produces a phenotype known as tortoiseshell. The dominant B and the recessive B are X-linked. Suppose you cross an orange male cat to a tortoiseshell female cat. What are the genotypes and phenotypes of the progeny? So for A, I did the test cross and found that 1 tortoiseshell female would be heterozygous, 1 orange female would be homozygous recessive, 1 black male would be dominant, and then 1 orange male would be recessive. The letter B said the question concerns the trait described in part A. Male tortoise cats are very rare. What is the genotype of male tortoiseshell cat? This one kind of stumped me for a little bit, and then I realized that cats can have the same kind of conditions as people, as humans, and so the only way for there to be a male tortoiseshell is for the male to have 2 X's, and for those X's to be heterozygous. For C, it says in the fruit fly Drosophila, a mutation produced the scalloped phenotype, irregular margins on the wings. Assume that the scallop phenotype is the result of an X-linked recessive mutation. Indicate the genotypes and phenotypes of the progeny produced when reciprocal crosses are done. Reciprocal crosses are still kind of a iffy thing with me. I just tried my best with this. So I said 2 female heterozygous are not affected, and then 2 male dominant are not affected after doing the test cross. D, the question concerns the scalp phenotype described in Part C. Assume that the scalp phenotype is the result of an autosomal recessive mutation. Indicate the genotypes and phenotypes of the progeny produced when reciprocal crosses are done. So this one was X-linked, and this one was just autosomal, and I did the same thing for them, except obviously different. And I found that 1/2 was homozygous recessive affected, and 1/2 was heterozygous not affected.